You're watching this agenda-setting India Today national investigation, the JNU confession tapes. We've looked at the role of the students who claim to belong to the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad. Even though the ABVP says they're not our office bearers, that's not so consequential. What matters is, do they accept that they are part of the ABVP? Were they part of ABVP protests? Did they act on behalf of the ABVP? And they've given it a whole list of people they think were part of this probe because they saw them. Now I want to show you what happened at the server room. When I interviewed Professor Jagdish Kumar, the Vice Chancellor of the Jawaharlal Nehru University, he took me into the server room, said that this had been vandalized by students from the left unions. I want to show you what happened inside the server room of the Jawaharlal Nehru University. Left union students are accused of having entered the server room, disconnecting the Wi-Fi, and not allowing those students who wanted to study, not allowing those students who wanted to pay their fees from being able to do so. This is part 3 of our investigation.
Identity of JNU's masked mob revealed. Men who unleashed mayhem confess on camera. But was there a background to Sunday's JNU violence? What triggered the mob attack? In an exclusive interview to India Today, JNU Vice Chancellor Mamidala Jagdish Kumar claimed that January 5th's violence had its roots in what happened the day before. According to the VC, masked mob entered the campus on 4th January, 24 hours before Sunday's violence.
What happened on 5th also has its origins on what happened the past few days. We have our CIS Communication and Information Systems Office here, and this houses the data centers, and which is the nerve center of the entire university. So one day before, few students, about 10 or 12 students with their faces completely covered with clothes, they came and they abused and forced the technical staff to come out of the CIS premises, and they took control of our data center and shut down the whole thing. So I am wondering if the students who are protesting, if they are working for a right cause, why should they cover their faces? Why should they hide their faces? They could have simply protested, right? And that is the first time that we have seen in the history of the university protesting students coming with their faces completely covered.
The JNU administration alleges that university's data center was destroyed on Saturday, 4th January. The JNU VC has linked the malfunctioning of CCTVs during Sunday's violence to the shutting down of data center by this group of masked protesters. Some videos put out by the ABVP also allege that it was the left-wing students who brought in masked protesters on campus first. An FIR has also been filed against JNU Students' Union President for destroying the university servers. India Today's undercover reporters spoke to former JNU Students' Union President and ISA activist Geeta Kumari. Geeta was part of this group of protesters who were outside the server room on 4th of January. In this video released by ABVP, she's sitting on the floor wearing a grey jacket and trousers. She admits that she was involved in shutting down the university servers.
4 तारीख को जो ये मेरा जो वीडियो चल रहा है वहाँ का, उधर का उसके दिन बाद का इंसिडेंट है। हमारा वीसी सब कुछ ऑनलाइन करता है, लव लेटर ऑनलाइन भेजता है, ठीक है, हैप्पी न्यू ईयर ऑनलाइन भेजता है, धमकी ऑनलाइन भेजता है। तो हम लोगों ने सोचा कि इसको अब इसने ऐसे ही कर दिया है, ना एग्ज़ाम हुए हैं, ना हमारी बात मानी गई है, ना हमसे एक बार भी मिला है, तो हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि इसका जो सर्वर है वो बंद करते हैं। द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन शुडंट फंक्शन।
The left activist does not just confirm her presence in this video, sitting outside the server room, but also declares that she played a role in the shutting down of the data center. A confirmation from the left that the servers were closed to hamper the work of the JNU administration. Listen to Geeta Kumari's confession once again.
ना एग्ज़ाम हुए हैं, ना हमारी बात मानी गई है, ना हमसे एक बार भी मिला है, तो हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि इसका जो सर्वर है वो बंद करते हैं कि द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन शुडंट फंक्शन.
Was this then the trigger for the violence on January 5th? Jamshed and Nitin Jain for India Today's Special Investigation Team.
I'm joined on this broadcast now by Dr. Makaran Paranjpe. He is the Professor at Jawaharlal Nehru University, Director of the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies. Gaurav Bhatia joins us, spokesperson of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party. Dr. Paranjpe, I come to you first. You've seen all aspects of this four-part India Today investigation, the JNU confession tapes. I want you to explain, as one of the leading public intellectuals of this country, what do you make of this big India Today expose, sir?
First of all, Mr. Kanwal, thank you for having me on the show. And I want to start by saying that as a professor of over 20 years standing in JNU, it's a very sad day for me to see that our own students, supposedly from your report, have been involved in this violence and vandalism on campus. This is very regretful. This means that a level of lumpenism that we never expected in JNU has actually occurred. Having said that, though it's a sad day for me, I must also congratulate you on what I think, from what I've seen so far, has been a very even-handed investigation, where you've also pointed out the events that led to the 5th of January reactions. But, you know, as a teacher, as a public intellectual, as somebody deeply concerned with the future of Indian higher education, the future of our students, the quality of research in India, and of course the future of my beloved JNU, I think we must stop focusing on the narrative war, the war of versions, as it were, the blame game, as you put it. And let's restore academics as a priority of Indian universities. I've been writing consistently for the last several years that our campuses, especially in subjects in humanities and social studies, have become over-politicized. We have to get back to academics, which is the primary purpose of our universities. And I must also say
what action do you believe needs to be taken? What you're saying is absolutely correct. That's a matter of a larger conversation. We're on the specific on the violence on Sunday, the events preceding that. I want to ask you, as somebody who is largely seen by the right as one of their towering intellectual icons, what action do you believe needs to be taken on the back of this India Today expose, sir?
Well, I don't think that we can have a media trial, but sure, as the police have said they're going to investigate, I'm only saying that the guilty should be punished regardless of their political affiliations and stripes. There should not be a cover-up. There should be a free and impartial inquiry. So that's the first thing. But what's really important to me is that the buildings, the labs, classrooms should be opened, and that small group of left-wing leaders who want to hijack the university, asking for the Vice-Chancellor's resignation, bringing the university to a standstill, should not be allowed to operate with impunity. I think there is scope for the use of, should I say, restrained force. What I mean by that is the building should be open, labs should be open, the university cannot be in a lockdown mode. Supreme Court orders to keep protesters away from the administration and other buildings should be followed. That's where
Dr. Paranjpe, we had Dr. Vikram Singh, a former Director General of Police of Uttar Pradesh, asked for action to be taken against Delhi police officials, saying include termination because they didn't seem to do their job. Do you believe the Delhi police is capable of an impartial role? Do you believe this needs to be given to either the CBI or some other external agency? Because the Delhi police has so far, from the first moment on, not seemed as if it was a bipartisan force.
You know, Mr. Kanwal, that the police is usually close to the political dispensation. That's an unfortunate thing. But we who believe in democracy must believe in due process and in institutional integrity. So if the authorities think that an independent agency should be given the responsibility of conducting the investigation, so be it. It's not my job to comment on the fairness or otherwise of the Delhi police.
Do you think the Delhi
but
police
as an
has been fair?
intellectual-
Do you believe so far, Dr. Paranjpe, that the Delhi police has been fair?
Mr. Kanwal, it's not my job to take a call on this. I'm more interested as a teacher. I'm more interested that my university should start functioning, classes should be held, labs should be opened, and hijacking of the main purpose of the university should not be allowed. If you're the press, you should do, you know, whatever expose you want to do. That's your dharma. My dharma is not to go judging the Delhi police or some other institutional agency of our democracy, because we must have faith in our institutions. Otherwise, we'll end up thinking that only the press, you know, is fair and everybody else is corrupt.
What do you make, Dr.
Paranjpe,
Paranjpe, of the conduct of Vice Chancellor Professor Jagdish Kumar? There have been multiple demands for his resignation.
I
when
know
I
him.
interviewed him, he was justifying his own actions. What do you make of the demands for his resignation?
You know, again, it's not my job to comment on his, his actions and what he has done. I know him personally. I know that he's open. He's willing to listen to people. But I can also tell you as a JNU faculty member that there is a small group of students who wants to bring the university to a standstill. How can they do that? They can only do that by making sure students don't get their degrees or have a zero semester, lock down the campus, lock down the buildings. This is a way to exert pressure and keep the JNU pot boiling. So it's not up to me, you know, to comment on the role of a colleague of mine, somebody who I know and respect. But here's the point. The point is that the role of a university is to teach, to conduct research, to award degrees, and that primary purpose should not be hijacked by politics. And anybody who thinks that politics is the main role of students in JNU, I completely disagree.
That's very consequential. That's coming from a very respected professor of the Jawaharlal Nehru University. He's questioning the role of the police. He's also saying, and I completely agree with this, Ashutosh, because, you know, you can't take, the violence was unacceptable. It's fairly clear from our investigation that there were people who claim allegiance to the ABVP who led that violence, but you can't hold a university to ransom. You can't stop a vice chancellor from doing his job. Whether you vandalize the server room or you pulled off the cables, that's wrong. If there are students who want to pay their fees, who want to register for the winter session, they have to have the right to be able to do so.
I completely agree with you, but I think you must have read what Mr. Y.K. Alag has written yesterday in Indian Express. And I was there as a student when he was the Vice Chancellor. I think the students had gone on a protest, and then Mr. Vice Chancellor himself had taken his pillow and he sat on the dharna, and immediately it just fizzled out. Because he carried such a moral stature before the students. I
interviewed the Vice Chancellor. He said he was being abused. He says these left-leaning students give him the choice, and some of the abuses he said were used against him. I can't even use in public television.
But Rahul, I think that's slightly one-sided, because if he carries that moral stature, probably situation would have been sorted out much before. I want to remind you that it has been reported in the newspaper that the reconciliation and the formula was already found out by the intervention of the Ministry of Human Resource Development Ministry. But very next day the Vice Chancellor has gone back. I'm saying Vice Chancellor is the father figure, he's the guardian. Even if the students are upset doing something wrong, it is his job to talk to them and take them in confidence, trust them. You just can't say, I will not talk to them, I will not talk to them. The Vice Chancellor has not been attending meetings which the ministry is calling. How can you say that? So blaming the student is the softer option. I think both are to be blamed, and I'll blame more to the Vice Chancellor, because he being the senior person, he being the Vice Chancellor, he being the father figure, he being the guardian.
The Vice Chancellor is accused of being on your side. He's accused of almost acting as an extension of the ABVP. He rejects it, of course, very strongly. But what do you think of that charge?
We reject it as well. Had he been on, look, the whole issue culminated from the fee hike. Now the fees of ABVP activists would be raised as well. If talking politically, if talking about activism, from the fee hike, ABVP lost the most. We lost.
How did you lose?
Well, that's a different story. If I get into details, it's up to you to. Well, people from JNU would relate. Now, if I find it very ridiculous that to claim that Vice Chancellor is on our side. If Vice Chancellor been on our side when Periyar Hostel was attacked at 4, he would have given police the permission to get into university. He didn't.
No, that's the problem.
He had given permission
No,
by
the
345.
The fact that the
It's on
police
record.
is standing around,
he
Dr.
gave-
Singh, and not stepping into act, I think that's where maximum questions are being asked with the role of the Delhi police itself.
Naturally, questions are bound to be asked in the sense that you're supposed to act, and what is chivalry? Acting when you are expected to act and not being silent when you're supposed to speak out. In this case, I would fault the Delhi police on multiple counts, not acting when they were expected.
Do you believe this probe should be taken away from the Delhi police? Because I, as a outsider, can't understand how a body that's accused of being complicit to crime can investigate a crime of which their own members were part.
I would say that ideally speaking, it should be referred to the CBI. Or secondly, what can be, which is prevalent in all the states, is that when one contingent is alleged or accused of something, some other branch of the same police department investigates that misdemeanor. And in this case, the Delhi police would do well to ask another branch or another police station, another district of the Delhi police, which is not remotely connected with these disturbances. But as you very rightly said, the undercurrents of the police are such, and the subculture and the ecosystem is such, that you back up one of your comrades and brother always through thick and thin. Therefore, in the interest of justice, another independent probe, maybe by a retired High Court judge or maybe by the CBI, would be in the fitness of things.
You know, I just want to focus on this for a moment because the ABVP is saying that these boys are not ours, they're not office bearers. We have videos and we'll pull them out and we'll put them on TV of Akshat, Avasti and Rohit at ABVP rallies. They're at ABVP rallies, they're very much up. So to my mind, whether they are, you know, you just see them, just look at that, there he is. That's an ABVP rally and he's part of it. Both Rohit and Akshat, they're at an ABVP rally. Whether they're office bearers or not matters little. In any case, forget whether they're members of the ABVP or not, you now have them on camera admitting their own role in crime. So now start investigating that. Whether they're ABVP, not ABVP, you have at least 2 people who say they were part of the mob. They've got a whole call list of names of other people who they claim were from the ABVP, who they say were part of the crime. Call them in for probe tomorrow. Do you have any faith, Dr. Singh, that this will happen? Or do you think the Delhi police will try and save its skin?
I would say that if it does not happen, that will raise a huge question mark on the credibility and the integrity of the whole investigation. Because what has been given is out of natural investigation with malice towards none. And it's the duty, and as Mr. Randhawa said, they are putting the various pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together, and to ignore this vital piece of evidence would be indicative of your pre-elections.
As we come to the close of this broadcast, I want to show you once again what Akshat Avasti and Rohit Shah say on India Today's cameras. You know, people are asking if they were part of the crime, why would they admit it? Well, that's what good investigators do. They get people who are allegedly involved in a criminal action to accept what they did, and that's what we have. We have very incriminating confessions. They can't run away from it now. He's explaining what he did in his own words. He's not, and there were multiple people he's named, multiple students he's named, where he says, wo bhi tha, wo bhi tha. We haven't put that in because that's him naming somebody else. Here he is on camera once again explaining with bombast and pride, talking about how the police was there. They said, karo, no problem. You know, they're almost as if the police was part of that mob, and what they did and how they did it. Listen to Akshat Avasti and Rohit Shah.
तुमने डंडा लिया हुआ था हाथ में, क्या था तेरे?
डंडा था।
डंडा कहाँ से लिया?
वो उधर एक दरिया के पास एक वो है, हमने अंडे का रखा था, फिर बहुत बड़ा डंडा रखा था पास का, इतना बड़ा था, वही था।
तूने ठोका किसको था?
अब लड़के थे, 3 लड़के थे, एक लंबी दाढ़ी वाला था, वो कसने लगा था, गेट पे लाता, तो एक गेट टूट गया था खूब अच्छा। मैंने ना कैंपस में नहीं थे जब मैंने पुलिस को फ़ोन किया था उस समय, मैंने पुलिस को फ़ोन किया था कि सर ये परियार हॉस्टल पे ये लेफ्ट फॉर्म जब मनी सर इसका हाथ टूटा है सबका, जो ये के नंबर पर ऐड हुए हैं, तो फिर मैंने फ़ोन किया तो पुलिस आई देखने क्या हुआ। तो उस समय जो उनने जी से वो बोला, मैं भी वहाँ खड़ा था, मुझे भी जानते हैं वो।
बोला क्या बोला?
तो
और लाइट किसने बंद करी थी, तुम ही लोगों ने? स्ट्रीट लाइट
एडमिन आई थिंक पुलिस
ने बंद करी थी, क्यों?
डोंट वांट टू सी दैट कि मोबिलाइजेशन पे जा रहा है या कोई जा रहा है।
मतलब यहाँ की पुलिस ने ABVP की आप लोगों की मदद करी?
सर दिल्ली पुलिस इसकी है।
ये कपड़ा ढकने का आइडिया आप लोगों को कहाँ से आया ABVP वालों को?
ये सर ये देखा देखी आया, ये
किसकी देखा
देख के आया, मतलब लेफ्ट वाले ढक के आए थे, ढक के चलो।
और यहाँ से JNU से कितने लोग थे ABVP के?
Okay, I want one final comment from Dr. Vikram Singh, former Director General of Uttar Pradesh Police, as a former crack investigative officer. What, according to you, is the evidentiary value of these tapes? What do you believe the police should do next, sir?
Mr. Rahul Kanwar, this is a brilliant piece of investigative journalism, the best I think I have seen in decades. And whatever tapes that you have amount to extrajudicial confessions.
What does that mean?
That means that this is acceptance of the crime that one has committed without any pressure in the natural course of events. This is admissible in a court of law, and there are many who have been convicted merely on the basis of a simple video clip like this. I do hope the Delhi police is listening and incorporate these tapes as a part of the Shamil Taftish, as they say in the police parlance, incorporate them in the investigation and produce them before the court of law.
20 seconds, Ashutosh.
Similar investigation sting operation was done in the 2002 the riot, and Babu Bajrangi and Maya Kodnani were convicted on the basis of the tapes sting operation done.
You know, I just want to remind our viewers that one of the finest investigative exposés we carried out was under the watch of this government. It's called the Hurriyat Terror Tapes, and at this moment there are 7 leaders, senior leaders of the Hurriyat conference, who are in jail because of that big India Today investigation. The tapes that we put out at that time were used as evidence by the National Investigating Agency. For 2 years, almost half the NIA worked on the Hurriyat terror financing case, which was sparked off by an investigation done by the India Today Special Investigation Team. It cannot be in the least that that is evidence and this is not. You know, you cannot say that that is compelling enough for us to lock up for months on end 7 leaders of the Hurriyat conference, and that this isn't as significant. For us, stories have no color. We don't care in the least whether it's left, right or center. It's the same team that went out and investigated the Hurriyat terror tapes. It's the same team that's gone out and carried out this multi-dimensional investigation at the Jawaharlal Nehru University. Our investigation speaks for itself. When you've got a big stick, you talk silently. And that's what we've done. We've been very soft. We haven't editorialized. We put out the facts as they were. Mr. Amulya Patnaik, Commissioner of Police, your entire force and its actions are being questioned. The Home Ministry itself needs to be looked at, because can you trust the force whose officers are accused of being complicit to doing their job? Or will this probe be taken away from the Delhi police? A former Director General of Police suggests that it should be handed over to the CBI. Will that be done? And there is a whole narrative out there which seems to suggest that this was the left going amok. That's part of the story. It most certainly is. There is a build-up to what happened on Sunday. We've looked extensively as that build-up, but you cannot take away what happened on Sunday evening, the part that the police focused on least in its press conference, the part that needs to be looked at also. We're not saying let the students from the left unions go focus only on the ABVP. If they committed a crime, whether it is destruction of public property or vandalism, hooliganism, beating up people, this is not what we expect at Indian campuses. And to all journalists out there who are looking at only one part of the story, I say, look at the mirror. Be honest to your own conscience. Do what you entered this profession for, which is tell the truth. Speak truth to power without fear, without favor. That's what we do at the India Today Group. and I'd like more people to do their job. Thank you for tuning in. I want to commend once again the work of Jamshed Khan and Nitin Jain. They're the true heroes of this investigation. They're the ones who went out and brought this story for us. We haven't slept all through last night. You know, my throat's packed up, barely being able to keep my eyes open. But there are times when you need to work around the clock. There are times when you need to burn the midnight oil because there are stories that need to be told. And this is one of them. Thank you for tuning in. Rajdeep Sardesai is up next. Bye-bye.